I'm in med school. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Hey guys, if this is your first time on my channel, you are welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching. What's up? What's poppin', you guys? Back again with another video, and honestly, y'all are lucky because I am on L&D nights right now. So really, I have to go into the hospital at night. So I really have time during the day when I actually really should be sleeping, but I said let me make another video, and then probably this is like, honestly, I don't know when the next time I'm gonna make another video, but I was feeling it, so I said let me make another video. And before we get into it, everyone seemed to really overall enjoy the last video I posted, which I was just kind of saying how I feel, and that was just really it. Usually, I kind of just don't respond to comments that I don't care to respond to or don't feel the need to respond to, but this has kind of just been low-key annoying, and I was like, I just need to say something about this. And I did actually respond overall to like a comment, but I was just like, I'm gonna just kind of say my piece and then let it be. And it's just so annoying because I don't understand why people feel the need to comment on somebody else's body. What is your concern? From a clinical standpoint, honestly, like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do my finish my concealer. What am I doing? If someone comes into your office and they've lost a significant amount of weight, given other symptoms, but usually even in like clinical stems, when someone has abnormally weight loss, it is rapid in a short amount of time or just a lot. Clinically, we're actually concerned that there's an underlying disease process or something going on, and we're actually wondering if that person is really sick. And there's this unhealthy mentality that like weight loss automatically equates to like health, and weight loss is not always an indicator of being healthy. It's important to recognize that. You just don't know what people are going through, and you don't know why someone looks the way they do. And it's not, especially if you don't know the person, you don't know the context, it is not your position to say anything or assume the reason that they look the way they do, whether it's weight loss or weight gain. So to now make the assumption and comment that they look a certain way, you're so proud of them, or they look good as if they didn't look good before, and you think you're complimenting them, I don't know. So obviously I'm not your mamas, I'm not your aunties, and it's not my job to be teaching y'all home training, but it's just a food for thought. Hopefully it's a point of reflection for yourself of why we make automatic assumptions the way we do, and if those are healthy assumptions that we are making, and if we are actually causing harm when we make those kind of comments. And truth be told, like, for the people commenting that I look good and OMG, all that kind of stuff, like, if you're just now commenting that I look good and you weren't commenting I looked good a year ago, your comments don't mean anything to me. Those compliments don't mean anything to me. And my video wasn't about my appearance. My video was about medical school. Most of my videos, almost all of my videos, have always been about my experience in medical school. When I put myself on the internet, obviously, I put myself on there for people to make whatever comments they want. I just hope that the subscribers I have and the viewers I have are people who push themselves to grow and push themselves to have the mindset and the thought process of thinking about what they want to say before they post on the internet, especially if these are people who want to pursue medicine, especially if these are people who are going to be taking care of other people. People are going to say what they want to say, have their own opinions, and honestly, it's a free country. Do what you want to do, say what you want to say. Whether they were well-meaning, well-intended, intention does not equate to impact, and you need to remember what you put on the internet is forever. Someone's going to see it, whether it be future employer, future classmate, future man, I don't know, okay? At the end of the day, all I'm saying is worry about the body that God gave you and mind the body that sustains you, and that's on period. Anyways, moving on to another topic. Someone had made a comment on that last video that I actually thought was a good topic to talk about. They said, can I make a video on rotations? And I was like, oh yeah, that's something I should definitely do, which I think is a really hard video to make just because it's like, one, you're still going through third year and trying to figure out what the heck you're doing, but also like, it's also a very tricky subject to navigate because you want to be careful about what you say, how you talk about it. The ops are always watching, so you never know, but I think there's a way way to talk about it and discuss it that like can get across the sentiments, but at the same time like, still allow for some discretion, I think is the best word to use. And I'll say so far, third year is like a very interesting year to say the least. For those who don't know, basically the format of medical school is the first 2 years, and this is most medical schools, you know, every medical school has a different curriculum, but the first 2 years of medical school is like classroom, or the first, I'll say 1.5 years, because it's not really like a full 2 years. The first like 1.5 years of medical school is classroom. So like you're in the classroom, you're learning, you're doing, you know, your cardio, all that kind of stuff. You're doing your blocks and all that. So it's really just classroom learning. Medical schools are moving towards getting that patient interaction like in those first years, but it's not like, I wouldn't call it like real patient interaction. It's making you feel like you're doing something, but you're not really. You know, it's giving more like pre-med shadowing, I'm not even gonna lie. Or more like learning how to like at least interview patients, which is a good first start because you need to know how to like talk to patients and interview patients. That's kind of the most like patient contact you'll probably get in the first half of medical school. And then the last 2 years of medical school, and then usually in between you'll take step 1, which is your first board exam, because you know you need to be licensed to practice in the United States of America. We'd hate to become like our good friend who was practicing in Florida and he never even went to medical school, didn't have a degree, didn't do nothing. Only God knows where he is right now. But you need to be licensed, so you take the first licensing exam in between, and then you do your last 2 years of medical school, which is no classroom. It's literally low-key, it's unpaid labor, really. It's supposed to be learning, but I really think it's like unpaid labor. But then can we really call it like, yes, I think it's unpaid labor, to be honest, where you're like working in a hospital now and you're really getting that hands-on clinical experience, hands-on learning. And it's no longer learning through like textbooks and classes, it's like learning through patient care and really learning what it means to think clinically and think like a doctor, really, is the last 2 years of medical school. And that is the format. So third year is really humbling, to say the least, because now you go from like Anki cards and memorizing whatever, to now like you are responsible, obviously under supervision, for real patients and taking the foundations of what you learned in your first 2 years, but really what you learned from studying for step 1. And now, how do I take care of real patients who do not follow classical textbook presentations, who come in with, you know, real life scenarios, who come in with emotions, feelings, all these complex things? Like, how do I take that? How do I take working in teams with real people and human beings and all of that, and how do I like be a doctor and learn to like manage a patient and learn how to, it's humbling to say the least. And right now I'm in my OBGYN rotation, and honestly I've been really loving, I'm not even gonna lie, the girls is loving it, and I hate that for me. I really do hate it for me. I've really been enjoying it, and there's no rotation that I think is like peaches and cream. Like every rotation is super hard for different reasons, but I think you will love some more than others, and it's dependent on so many different factors, but I've been enjoying it so far, and I think I just enjoy learning. Like, I'm just someone who, I love learning. I'm a very curious person. I love asking questions. I just love soaking up I'm just like a little sponge. I love soaking up knowledge. I love learning. I could just learn for the rest of my life, honestly. So I've really just enjoyed OBGYN, loved learning and coming in every day and learning something new. And I've also just enjoyed, you know, taking care of patients and stuff like that. And if there's one thing I've learned overall from like, and this is my second rotation. I did internal medicine, and now I'm on OBGYN. And internal medicine and surgery are the 2 longest rotations, and then the other core rotations are shorter. So IM and surgery are 8 weeks, and the other ones are 6 weeks. So family medicine, peds, OBGYN, psych, they're all 6 weeks. And if there's one thing I've learned about third year so far, is that it is truly the year of self-directed learning. Like, you are responsible for a lot of your own learning. Yes, you go into the hospital, you're supposed to learn through patient care and learn from your residents residents and attendings, but really the onus is on you to like figure things out on your own in terms of going on up to date, dynamic, like really learning how to manage patients and like studying and figuring out the clinical side of things, like, and doing that reading up on your own. Like, I saw this meme on Instagram how like when you ask for feedback from attendings and the feedback is to read more. And like, I feel like if you're in third year, fourth year resident, like you'll understand that joke like so much more than anyone else. It's really just about self-directed learning. I think was really hard for me to wrap my head around initially, because I'm just like, we're thrown into this world of like clinical medicine that we have no idea about. Like, how do you want me to self-direct around this? Like, how can you compare someone who's been doing this for 20 years to me, who I just finished taking step 1, and I'm just like, okay, the patient got pancreatitis. We need to put them on MPO and just, you know, monitor them. That's what I know. Like, and all I know is that, you know, to diagnose them, I look at their lipase levels and they gotta have epigastric pain that radiates to the back. Like, that's literally as far as I know, and that's what I can read on. And how do you compare that knowledge to someone who's been doing this for years? And then your feedback to me is to read more. Make it make sense, sir. Ma'am. It's like a take me to the king kind of moment. And in third year, you're really expected to like learn from patients. You're expected to collect history. You're expected to present patients to your attending. You're expected to like interpret labs. You're expected to, you know, be able to do a physical exam on them. You're expected to interpret imaging, I think, to a certain extent. I think that one also just comes with experience. You take all of this information, come up with a differential, and make an assessment and a plan, you know, and present this. And all of that you cannot learn from a book, baby. You cannot learn that from a book. And you need to learn that from people. You need to learn that from people with experience, people who've been doing this for years on top of years on top of years on top of years. And it's funny because you're also being supervised by residents who are also in residency to learn that from people, the attendings, who've been doing this for years. So like, you're learning from people who are also learning from people who have been doing this for years. So it's like this very funny hierarchy of like learners learning from learners who are learning from experienced people that are like evaluating everyone like downwards. It's so weird. It's not every resident or attending you encounter that are good educators or have a true investment in medical education. And that's what can be, I think, frustrating about third year. And I'm someone who believes that like, if you are paying for a good or a service, you need to get your money's worth. Like, whether it's McDonald's or medical school, you need to get your money's worth. I don't go to McDonald's anymore. I can't even remember the last time I like stepped foot in a McDonald's or any fast food restaurant, to be honest. But when I used to go to McDonald's, if I ordered a chocolate milkshake and it looked vanilla and I went through the drive-thru, best believe I would walk back into McDonald's and be like, my milkshake, which I ordered was chocolate, looks vanilla, it tastes vanilla, you need to remake this. Like, I am someone who like believes that you should get what you pay for. Medical school is not cheap. So I'm the kind of person that like, if I am in third year and I am paying for an education of clinical learning, like in my rotations, I should be like, I understand there's a certain level of self-directed learning, which is so important because even as an attending, you're constantly learning. Like, medicine is not static, it's dynamic. Like, we're constantly learning new things in medicine. So like, even as an attending, you can't rely on the knowledge you learned 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because medicine is constantly updating itself. So there has to be a level of like self-directed learning. You have to learn how to teach yourself and be up to date. So I do not discount that fact, but there has to be like investment in the people who have more experience to like teach and not just be like, oh, go learn this on your own, you know? And that can be the frustrating part of third years, that like just this like pimping or looking like you do or don't know this, as opposed to like, let me also teach you this, you know? And I'm just like, Harpo, what am I paying for if I'm showing up here from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day only to be pimped and not taught anything? Like, the only person in that room or in that hospital, in that setting, that's paying to be there is you, the medical student. Everybody else even the residents, even though they're, you know, making minimum wage, everyone else is getting paid to show up. The only person paying to be there is the medical student. So if a medical student is not leaving their clinical site every day having learned something new, something wrong is happening at that site, in my opinion. Like, you're not getting the full learning experience you're supposed to be getting at that site. And to me, that is a problem. And what's frustrating is that, like, within every medical school, in a certain block, not every single student is getting an equal experience. So there could be, like, for example, 10 students that are doing their internal medicine rotation at different sites, and I guarantee you they're not all getting an equal internal medicine like experience, because one person could be at a community hospital and another person could be at a academic center. So the kind of patients they're seeing and the kind of faculty they're working with, you know, the kind of experience they're getting is not going to be the same. How they're going to be evaluated, the kind of, you know, just experience they're going to have is just not going to be the same. And then to me, it begs the question of how does that impact them, or how does that affect them down the line? Like, will they still leave with the same kind of skills needed? To be honest, I don't know. All of this is, you know, controlled by ACGME, or no, or is it LCGM, LC, whatever. There's an accrediting body that makes sure schools are in compliant to make sure that everyone's getting an equal education. And I'm not really sure how they do how they account to make sure that there's still equal or equitable thing. But I can tell you, in actuality and practice, that's not what's happened. On paper, it may check the boxes, but in practice, I don't think that's what's happening. And I know for a fact that's not what's happening, you know? And when I talk to people, like, that's not what's happening in practice. And it's very, very frustrating, because on paper, the rubric, the criteria for the expected skills and the kind of patients all students are supposed to see are the same, but that may or may not really happen. And what's also interesting is, on paper, the criteria for getting high pass versus honors and all that stuff is the same, but how people get evaluated in practice, that does not happen either, because people evaluate you how they want to at different sites, no matter what it says on paper. I can promise you that. And that is the real tea. That is the real tea. And if you're not astute, I feel like even if you are astute as a student and you do, like, you know, try your best to, like, make sure things are fair, there's always some subjectivity to this stuff, you know? And what adequate clinical knowledge means to one attending can be different to another attending. Like, to one attending, the fact that you know the management for a patient with pancreatitis can mean that, like, I am so impressed by this third-year medical student. But to another attending, it's like, no, you need to know, like, Bishop's criteria, you need to know, like, management of acute, severe, and mild, moderate pancreatitis for it to be adequate for, like, you know, it could mean different things to different attendings. So it's like a whole lot of. And I think it creates this, like, stressful dynamic duo for a third-year medical student who is in this hospital setting trying to learn, but also keeping in mind that I'm being graded and evaluated by all these people around me. So while I'm also trying to learn and get an education, I'm also mindful that these people are, like, judging me and evaluating me and giving me a grade. And this grade is going to be seen by residency programs because I need a job when I graduate. And, like, that is just, like, really hard to wrap your head around, because you're also thinking, like, I only have 6 to 8 weeks to, like, prove to these people I am high pass worthy or honors worthy. And your grade doesn't stop there, because you work 8 to 12 to 15 hours a day, and you have to come home and study for your mini board exam at the end of each rotation, which also plays a role into your grade. I don't know. It's giving stress. It's giving, I didn't come to this life to suffer, yet I am suffering every single day. It's giving, Lord, when? It's giving, I'm tired. It's giving, medical education needs to be revised. And the truth is, you could very well be a really good student, have all your P's and Q's together, and still not get the best evaluation just because they didn't like you. Maybe you just, like, weren't as extroverted as, like, another student on your rotation, or, like, maybe because you made one mistake during your rotation and it followed you for the rest of the rotation, no matter how much you tried to bounce back from that mistake. Or maybe just because you are a more shy person or a more quiet person, And sometimes like more extroverted students are better able to navigate certain spaces in third year. But at the same time, you have to be careful not to be too extroverted, because then you can overstep boundaries as well. So it's like this really, really fine line that you're constantly trying to navigate in third year, and you're just never gonna be right. Like, you are never gonna have it right. And I think it creates a lot of anxiety. It's very stressful. And it's just like, what am I doing? How do I get my life together? For my last rotation, listen to the story, which is a story not for the internet, to be honest. But one of my residents, who I honestly, bless his soul, but one of the advice he gave me and something he told me was that try to set expectations at the beginning of the rotation and trying to understand, what is this site about? Like, are they the kind of site where I can expect to get a lot of learning? Or is it gonna be a site where I can tell this is gonna be pure self-directed, right? And really trying to get a sense of that at the beginning so you kind of already know where to put your head. And I was like, that is some really good advice, you know? Trying to figure out the atmosphere of like, feeling out different attendings too, talking to students who have done that site before you so you can prepare ahead of time, but also like just asking the attending up front when you work with them, like, what is their workflow with medical students? You know, like, would you prefer for me to ask questions at the end of the case, or are you okay with me asking questions during the procedure or whatever? Even though it can seem annoying, I found that like doing that kind of helps me kind of orient of knowing what to do ahead of time, so I don't put myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, I asked a question at an inappropriate time, or oh, I'm getting on this attending's nerve because I was asking questions while they were doing this and I shouldn't have asked the question then. So I found that like, if I just ask the attending up front of like, what's your workflow with medical students? Like, would you prefer for me to ask questions after we finish, you know, rounding on patients, or can I ask you questions during the surgery, or how would you like for us to work together? I just asked them that before we even start. So I'm like, I already know where you stand, so I can just behave myself. So I can just respect myself while we work together. So that way, because you've already told me how you like to work with students, let me just cuckoo respect myself. And at least knowing and setting that expectation ahead of time can sometimes mitigate the situation where it's like getting feedback of this student was asking this and that during that and that. So I found like doing stuff like that, even though it feels annoying or it feels like being that student, which honestly, we'll see how it turns out at the end of this rotation. I don't know yet, but I'd rather do that than end up in a situation where, because I know I love asking questions, so the moment a question pops up in my head, I want to ask. Right? But knowing that kind of sets up of like, okay, ooh, girl, you want to ask a question, but this attending has already said, I prefer for questions after we get back in the office, or you can ask me whenever you want, right? Knowing that already lets you know where this attending stands, so you don't even get on their bad side. Because once they don't like you, au titan, you're done for. And that's just the truth of the matter of third year, as unfortunate as it is. And it's really giving professional hazing. Like, that's really what it's giving. I don't want to make third year seem like this terrible thing that like to experience, but I think if you have a good site, it can be an amazing experience. If you have a not so great site, it can be hard to like show up for yourself and for your learning every single day. I have read this article, I might drop it in the comment section if I like find the link again. And it talked about how like, I think it was on the like just topic of how medical education and the evaluation of students of color. And I think it also talks about how Black residents are dismissed from their residencies at higher rates than other races of residents. And I was like, I'm not surprised, because sometimes they want to make it harder for us at every step of the journey. And especially in more competitive residencies, we see it more malignant for Black residents and harder environments for them to thrive and succeed in because of how they get evaluated, because of the kind of feedback they get, even if they're performing the same way as their white counterparts or non-Black counterparts. And that's something to think about, and it's food for thought, because it doesn't just happen in residency too, it happens in medical school too, it happens on rotations too, where a Black student could have been performing just as well or making the same kind of mistakes as their non-Black counterparts, yet get evaluated more harshly. And as a Black student, it is so important to have administration on your side, at least in medical school. I can't speak for residency and the kind of support that can happen there, but in medical school, you need to document your life away. Let me tell you something. You need to document your life away. Any and every incident that happens in your rotations, you need to email somebody. You need to talk to your deans. You need to document, you need to date it. You need to make sure you keep track of these things. You need to have a trusted mentor, somebody, support system in your administration, because when push come to shove, it will be your word against the site, okay? It is so important to advocate for yourself. Just be your own advocate, honestly, and that's really all I can say. Nobody is gonna protect you. Always be on your P's and Q's as much as you can, but also just don't let anyone, the best of your ability, take advantage of you. And I think what's hard about third year is that like you can be a grown adult, like 26, 27, 28, even in your 30s, but because you're a med student, the way the hierarchy is, like people who are even your age mate will still think that they can be talking to you anyhow because you're a medical student. And there's a certain way you have to like just hold yourself, even when sometimes you feel like, I am a grown ass woman. I'm the same age as you. Like, who are you talking to this way? It is so weird. The kind of person I am, I'm very mindful of that, and I make sure that I don't allow people to speak to me as if like they can speak down on me, or as if like they can speak to me just because I'm a medical student, that they can speak to me like anyhow. Obviously I'm not like rude or anything, but I'm just kind of like remembering that we are all professional people, and just because I'm a medical student does not give you a pass to disrespect me, does not give you a pass to like talk down on me, does not give you a pass to be unprofessional to me. And it's really still hard to navigate that because you're thinking about being evaluated. You're thinking about, oh, like I am being watched, like I don't want to step on toes, like I have to like take all of that kind of stuff. And we're in this space and environment where we just want to keep our head down, do what we have to do, and then like when we become an attending, that's when we can like have a say or have a voice. And I think it's really important to advocate for yourself, and I think it's really important to make sure that no matter what, you are always treated with respect. Whether you're a medical student, a resident, an attending, whatever, make sure you are always treated with respect. If you're not sure that you are being treated with respect, or if you're not sure if something is appropriate, always checking in with your school. That's so important. I'm always checking in with peers to kind of pulse check, like, does this sound right to you? But at the end of the day, always just recognizing that like there are also certain things you have to learn to like not take personal, or learning how to be like, you know what, this attending is in a bad mood. Does that excuse them for like snapping at me? No, it does not. But you know what? I'm gonna let it roll off my back. I'm not gonna take it personal. And I know I didn't make any mistakes. I know that, you know, I did what I need to do, and they're in a bad mood. You know, and learning how to find the spirit of discernment of like that too, I think is even a skill. It's a very hard skill to do, but really just kind of navigating through that. All of third year is just also something that's really hard to wrap your mind around, and it takes a really good amount of maturity to do that, which again is why I say, like, before going into medicine, before starting medical school, you need to like think about it. You need to have a certain level of maturity. You have to be honestly a bit older, a bit grown, because honestly some of the people in medical school are childish. I'm not even gonna lie, some of them are truly childish. So you really have to have a certain level of maturity. Done with my makeup that I'm probably gonna take off later today, because I'm not about to go with my face beat to night shift to deliver some babies. So, because everyone's gonna be looking at me like, girl, what? Yeah, just want to share a few of my thoughts on third year. You know, just, I don't know if the ops is gonna, you know, flag me for this video, I don't know. But I didn't say nothing bad, honestly. But if you're a third year, fourth year resident, even an attending, I would be really interested to hear your thoughts on some of the things I shared, what you think about how medical education is going, the subjectivity, the uncertainty, like just your thoughts on rotations, third year, navigating it, how you feel you've learned in third year or fourth year, if you felt that how you've experienced third year has been going well, if you feel like it hasn't been going well, things that you felt have helped your learning, the things you felt have not helped your learning from maybe a resident perspective. I'd love to hear maybe some of the good experiences you've had in residency in terms of working with medical students, and maybe some not so pleasant ones. I think having this open conversation and seeing comments like that would be really helpful too, because I've just shared my experiences and my thoughts, but I think also seeing some of your comments and kind of hearing from different experiences too might be really helpful to all of us to kind of just see, like, do we all feel the same? Do we all think things need to change? What would need to change? How would we change it? Because even some schools have just gotten away with grading altogether for third and fourth year, and they just make it pass fail, whereas my school has not done that. It's still graded, but the girls is doing well. We thank God. We pray that it will continue to go well, because we just need it to go well. Okay, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow me on the Instagrams if you're not following me already. And I will see you whenever I post another video. So yeah, bye.